Unturned is presented by UpdateAI.
Years ago, working with a large client before we were customer success, and one of the leaders at that organization either asked me or said to me, well, you're the expert. What should we be doing? And to me at that stage in my career, I was like, what? You want to know from me what you should be doing? And I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's exactly what I should be doing. And so that's kind of where this model of customer success has come from, not just for us, but for everybody. It's like, we get it. We talk to you and all of your competitors. We see what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't work. And because we have that experience and that exposure, we're the best people to tell you how to get the most out of this software.
I'm Josh Schachter. That is Kristi Faltorusso, co-host of Unturned. We're missing John Johnson. He just didn't want to be here today. No, actually, he's feeling ill. So we wish him the best. And we're really excited to have our two guests today. Yes, that's right. Two guests, two for the price of one, Doublemint Gum style here from Bluebeam, Andrew Gaer and Sean Andrews. Andrew, first of all, did I get your last name correct?
You did. That one always throws people off. Yeah, okay, but you nailed it.
Nailed it. Okay, now my job here is done. Kristi, on to you. No, Andrew Gaer is the Senior Director of Customer Success at Bluebeam. We're going to learn more about Bluebeam, and Sean is the VP of Global Customer Success. So the first question, for those that are maybe not so much in the in the construction industry, tell us, Andrew, let's start with you. Tell us a little bit about Bluebeam, the history of your company, and what you guys do.
Yeah, Bluebeam, I would describe us as sort of the best productivity tool for communication and collaboration on drawings and documents for the design and construction industry. We got here, we've been around for over 20 years. It's kind of a cool origin story. I think a lot of companies have these cool origin stories, but ours sort of came from space. The founders were actually working for a spinoff of Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and they were designing the Mars rover robotic arms, and they needed a way to create PDFs from their CAD tools so that they could look at the drawings, mark them up, and make some changes. So they thought, there's no good way to create a PDF for a drawing, a large format drawing at this stage in the world. And so what if we just created our own tool that could do that for us? And so that's where we were born from, the ability to get CAD files onto a PDF file format. And then from there, we got into construction and design and started having plugins for things like AutoCAD, if you're familiar with that. And then a few years later, started being able to add markups to those PDFs so that people could actually work with the PDFs. And if you're not familiar with PDF, I mean, I think it's 2024. Probably everybody is by now, right? But
just chat GPT it and it'll give you the answer.
Yeah, it's sort of, a simple way of thinking about it is digital paper. It's a printable document format. But it's a way for people to sort of add things on top of a document and inside a document. You can almost think of it like a container. So you can add data to that thing that looks like a document. So it's very versatile, and that's why it works so well in this industry. But
okay, Andrew, any more discussion on PDFs, and we are going to lose all five of our listeners. I think we're already down to three.
You knew it. You knew what you were getting into when you asked me to join, I think. But okay, fair enough.
You challenged me to rag you, and there you go. That was
all
it.
Right. That was pretty good. That's all right. Yeah.
So Sean, tell us a little bit more about the intricacies of PDFs and the technical architecture of them.
Or don't.
I'll see myself out. I can. Yeah. All right.
No. It's cool. I mean, Andrew, on your podcast, what types of conversations about PDFs do you guys have? Tell us about your podcast.
I have a podcast about a road trip from way back when my buddy and I took around the U.S., but we mostly talk about French fries.
Oh, best French fries in the country.
Well, Del Taco.
Really?
Wow. A taco place has the best French fries?
recently named best fast food place by USA Today. Very controversial.
Wait a second. We'll get back to CS
Over
stuff.
Chick-fil-A?
Yeah.
No way.
Over Chick-fil-A. It dethroned Chick-fil-A. That was the headline. Del Taco.
Wow.
Yeah. We don't have time for that, do we?
No, but I think we're actually just going to pivot this episode. So Del Taco, the number one overall of any type of fast food, Del Taco, out of, I think it was
Del Taco, which is, I think it's mostly West Coast too.
Yeah.
So,
I was like, we don't have any Del Tacos.
Yeah, you're missing out.
But
no,
Sean, you're from Austin. You guys have some hot, fast casual restaurants that have come from that area, right?
We have a multitude of fast food selections everywhere in Texas, for sure.
Yes.
I've seen a Del Taco. I cannot recall where, and I have never gone to one, but now I have a reason. So.
Yeah, crinkle fries, delicious.
There you go. And I'm still missing In-N-Out from my days in Southern California.
Ew.
What do you mean?
Josh, that's sad. That's disgusting.
Oh, Kristi's a Shake Shack,
gross.
like East Coast born and raised, true to her roots.
Honestly,
Shake Shack person,
we don't want
right?
to get me started on the fact that this country eats too much processed food and how fast food is killing America. So like that's where I would take this conversation. Like
I'll
take
go on
all
that
the fast
podcast.
food and like let's reduce the fact that 60% of the food that is being consumed right now is all processed garbage. And that is why we're all sick all the time.
Okay. Well, you know what, Kristi? You and Sean can go to your organic, like whatever restaurant. Andrew
I'm just saying,
and I
like,
are going
we
to
need
go
to
just
all be
enjoy
thinking about
our
what we
seasoned
consume
fries.
instead of saying which one of these fast food places are the best. I'll tell you that they're all the worst. How about that?
Okay. But Shake Shack has crinkle fries too, don't they?
They do. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of Shake Shack.
Yeah,
my kid loves it. My
overrated.
husband likes it. My daughter really likes Shake Shack. It's her preference. Nobody in my house loves Chick-fil-A. Yeah.
Well, Sean and Andrew, it was great having you on the episode today. So everybody tune in next week.
Another
Riveting. All right. So Andrew, you've been there for 13 years. You started at Bluebeam when there were 50 people in the company. You started in account services, really kind of, you were handling anything customer touching, right? Not literally, figuratively. And then, Sean, you joined a little over 3 years ago, right? So I'd love to learn, kind of your history with the company and what you brought what brought you into Bluebeam.
Yeah, absolutely. So 3.5 years ago, I came to Bluebeam. We were in the midst of subscription transformation. So I'm sure you learned a little bit about that as Andrew met with you guys earlier. So that was, going from desktop application to subscription pricing model, some portion of the product available in the cloud, and a fundamentally new way to need to interact with customers. And so that's what pulled me over. I was at SAP at the time, and so came over to Bluebeam to build out the CSM team that Andrew now runs, and tech support and our university community aspects through our customer enablement team, professional services, training, all of those things, sort of piecing together what were 3 or 4 separate departments inside Bluebeam at the time and bringing those units together to sort of bring a cohesive message to the customers, customer lifecycle methodology of how we were going to interact with customers and all of those types of things. So that's the structure that I came into. We're now nearly complete with our transformation. I think it's 96% complete, something like that. So we've got a handful of customers left to go.
That's
so
from desktop to
beyond that.
That's from desktop to SaaS applications.
Desktop to SaaS. Everybody on subscription. I think Andrew's probably shared. We still have a desktop application that is the heavy use tool. Many of those services are now syncing to the cloud so that you can do things from your iOS application, your Android application, and sync it back. So we're getting more and more SaaS enabled, I would say, but the power, there's a huge still desktop flexibility and functionality that's going to be really hard to peel.
And is that just because these, I'll call it legacy. I don't mean that to be disparaging, right? You think about like these applications that have been around for 20 years, like the Photoshops of the world and stuff like that. Is that just because they're powerful? You're dealing with construction blueprints and things like that. And, sometimes you can't wait the 7 seconds for the page to reload type of thing.
Yeah, there's a few things. Andrew probably knows more from the history than I do, but yes, I think a lot of it, there's a multitude of tools that you can utilize. So there's a ton of functionality that's been developed over those 20 years. There's, large scale drawings, there's, and then there's legacy architecture. So you've got all of those things sort of mixed together at the moment that keeps a healthy portion of our users on the desktop app.
So for either of you guys, what did that transformation, because I'm sure there's other folks listening out there that may be going through this or well, hopefully not, but there's probably some.
Hopefully not too many more left. Right?
Hopefully not.
Done it. This is my third one through. I'm like, I think I'm done with it.
Oh, geez.
It should be good.
Okay. So what's the biggest, so then Sean, what are like, give us your wisdom on how you do these transformations of going from application desktops over to SaaS. Like what are some of the biggest, as they say, tummy rumbles that come across and how you do these things right?
I think one is be very transparent with your customer base so they know what's coming and give them the time to absorb that, give you feedback. We tried to make it as painless as possible for our customers to move across. So one is flexible contracting, so don't force them too early. But two, make it, we made it price neutral effectively for them to move across so that, you're already going to face the conversations around, well, that you're moving to this model so that you can monetize more. And so you're going to have to dispel those concerns anyway. So by trying to make it price neutral, you effectively can eliminate half of that conversation up front. Because if you're raising the price and putting folks on a subscription, I would say that's a recipe for a very challenging conversation. So I think that's one of the things that we've done pretty well is be very upfront with our customers and try to make it as painless for them to move across the line as possible. Andrew, I don't know what other wisdom you want to share from your experience.
I don't think I have much else to add. I think that's the key, just that clear communication of what we're trying to do and what we're not trying to do. Because there is a lot of skepticism out there, right? And I think that was one of the benefits that we had is so many companies have made this transition before that we've been able to see the things that people haven't reacted well to, and we've been able to avoid those things and then also communicate that out saying, we know that these have been problems before. We're not going to do that. And here's what we're going to do instead so that they feel more comfortable about what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So I can ask, what are some of the blind spots, right? So, customers don't always behave the way we'd like them to. And so just because we're asking them to come on this journey with us doesn't mean they're eager and jumping at it. So how do you guys manage some of the blind spots, or how are you navigating customers who are like, nope, that's cool. Good for you guys. I'm glad you're going through this migration, not interested, want to stay on the legacy product? Or what are the timelines, or how do you manage that? Are you still putting resources against the legacy product for a period of time? Like, walk me through some of the ugly part of it.
Those are mostly your customers,
ugly?
Andrew. You want to talk about it? No. They're really, it's not too bad, but there's certainly some. Right?
Yeah, I think we've been quite generous as far as the amount of time that we've allowed people to make the transition and trying to be upfront and let them know what's coming, when it's coming, and then not forcing them to just uproot processes and uproot their IT departments to make these changes all of the sudden. And hopefully most of them have had the time to kind of do it on their own time. So I think that's been helpful, right? Because when it's just sort of, we're making this change and you have to the end of this month to do it. And they're sitting there going, I already had this month and next month and the next 3 months planned out of what I was supposed to do. And now this company, who's just one of the many vendors in our tech stack, is forcing us to do something else. It really disrupts things. So we tried to give lots of time. And we do, Sean mentioned we're at something like 96% have come across. This has been 2 years to get there, I think. So we've taken our time, and there are still some customers who are on more of a legacy license. And those are kind of the edge cases now, maybe some government type contracts, things like that. But we've tried to mitigate it as best we can and understand what these people in IT have to, in administration have to deal with every day, right? Because it's not just the people using the software, it's also the people that administer the software that we have to take care of too.
This sounds like Kristi. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to have an aside to Kristi. Like, Kristi, doesn't this sound like your dream job? 2 years of moving people over from
like
desktop
literally
applications
my worst
to
nightmare.
Yeah,
We're changing some
I think you'd be
back-end
great
stuff
for it.
right now, and it's like it's so small, the level of effort of the work that we're doing right now in this specific project compared to what you all did. And it's like it should take us, I don't know, maybe like 60 days to like get all of our customers over across the finish line when it's done in development. And that feels like ugly and heavy and horrible. And so to think about doing this for 2 years, and to still feel like, okay, there's still 4% of these customers who haven't even got, I'm like, that's so much.
I think one aspect too, just, we do think in customer success, we're always outwardly focused, right? We're thinking about the success of our customers. If there's anybody out here who is still in this position or about to be in this position, one thing to note too is it took a toll on our customer success managers, our support teams, a lot of people internally too, who, we hired a lot of CSMs at the time, and we hire from the industry. So people who have come from design and construction backgrounds, and they were excited to join Bluebeam so that they could talk about our software. And instead they were having conversations about licensing transitioning. So it's important to also keep that in mind and how you can support your team to get through this as well. But
so how do you get them to come along on this journey for 2 years, right? To your point, like they're not
money.
We don't know that was how they solved it, Josh. Yeah, but I would feel like I would need more money to spend 2 years doing
so
that.
much of how we sort of turn the same message that we shared with customers inside. We have a great tenure at Bluebeam. We're very fortunate to have folks like Andrew who've been around a decade or more. And so part of our messaging was around, hey, we have to make this move because we're locked into this legacy architecture. We cannot release some new functionality that takes advantage of new technology in the cloud and all the things that brings until we make this move. Like, one, we need to be able to fund it. We need to be able to be on an architecture that can support it. We need to have an ecosystem of resources that can help customers understand what the heck we just released and how to take advantage of it. So part of a lot of the internal conversation was around, like, we're up against, a very real wall of innovation that we can't get past. And most of the people there obviously are doing this because they love it. They have a passion for the build and construct industry and the lives that we can impact. And so that story resonates really well, resonates for our customers as well, just to know that's sort of the understanding that, yes, it's a bump. Yes, it's going to be a little bit of a push, but it unlocks so much good innovation and readiness for the future that if we don't make the move, we will, it's one of those things, you disrupt yourself or you will get disrupted, and we're choosing the former.
So now that you have all these customers kind of over, we'll say everyone's over effectively. How have you redesigned what your customer success strategy looks like now? Because you obviously have a very different product. You've got a different kind of initiative and probably new priorities for everyone. So what does that now kind of new state of customer success look like?
Well, it's interesting. The product itself really isn't new. We've introduced more. So, so really when we say this transformation, most of the transformation was just how we sell and license our software, right? It was a perpetual license with an annual maintenance fee into a named user subscription. So that's effectively the big part of what it was. Excuse me. So the product itself, the fundamentals of how people interact with it from the end user standpoint, hopefully most of them didn't have any idea anything took place over the last couple of years, right? So in that regard, not much has changed. However, we have definitely stepped up how we sort of go after the users and try to elevate their education. So we've introduced a couple things under Sean's team as far as a new Bluebeam University platform so people can log in and get education included with their subscription on their own time at their own pace. We've introduced a new community so people can learn from their peers and interact directly with our product management team. Just the way we interact through our marketing channels, traditional ways, social media, all the ways that people do that now, and just really trying to reach people where they're at, because we know that people like to get information in different ways. And we recently did, so we talk to our users a lot. Everybody says they do, right? And everybody does, I'm sure, but we actually put KPIs around it on our team. So we require our CSMs to have a certain amount of interviews every quarter. And so I was just looking through the results.
I just need to step in here and say, hey, everybody, it's Josh. I'm taking a quick break from the podcast to tell you a bit about UpdateAI. I started UpdateAI to solve two major challenges for CS teams. The first is that we save CSMs 4 to 5 hours per week with our productivity through AI. Secondly, we give leaders a window into all the conversations across each account and the entire portfolio. So we help knowledge transfer, we help increase the coverage model of your CS teams, and we help you detect emerging patterns in what your customers are telling your CSMs across all the risks, product feedback, advocacy moments, and expansion opportunities. So come check us out at www.updateai. It's completely free to sign up and trial.
We talk to our users a lot. Everybody says they do, right? And everybody does, I'm sure, but we actually put KPIs around it on our team. So we require our CSMs to have a certain amount of interviews every quarter. And so I was just looking through the results. I just
need to step in here and Andrew, I love that so much. Every CS team across the entire world should have quotas for the number of interviews that their team does with their customers. I'm saying that completely unbiased from as a founder of a company that manages interaction meetings with the customers. Sorry, I just had to interrupt there. I got really excited when you said that.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's so fundamental, isn't it? And you just really, it's easy to get away from it somehow. But when we make it such a priority, we hear certain things that we wouldn't necessarily hear otherwise. And so where I was going with this was, we hear so many people say that they're self-taught. And what that really means is they open the software, and our software is relatively easy to open it up, understand what it is, get some value immediately, and just you're off to the races. And then when you get stuck, most people, think about yourself, what you do when you get software. It's, well, I'll Google that, or I'll ask a friend. That's maybe changed a little bit since so many people started working from home. It's harder to walk by somebody's desk and say, what's that on your screen? How did you do that?
That's true.
But those are still sort of the ways in which a lot of people get information is, I will use it until I get stuck and then I'll Google it. Right. Or depending on your generation, maybe, some of us, home improvement project, right? I'll go to YouTube. Somebody, a niece or nephew of mine who's in their 20s might go to TikTok. It's just a little bit different, but we all have these different places where we go. But through those interviews and understanding that people just are self-taught, that's where we need to think, where are you going to get self-taught, and where can we show up there for you so that the information that you find is the information that is most helpful to you.
So what did they come up with? So I think you said before, like educational portals and content product. Like what were the different resources that came up for you from those conversations?
All of it. The answer is all of it.
We have a pretty broad scale customer enablement engine that we built out precisely for that reason. So if you want university training, you're that type of user that can sit through a few minutes or a few hours of courses and you want to be certified, we have that path. If you're stuck at one thing and you need a quick YouTube video, we build micro trainings for that are accessible.
On YouTube?
On YouTube, yeah. So our YouTube videos have hundreds of thousands of impressions every quarter.
Wow.
So really,
that makes sense. And I think it's a better strategy, right? You're putting the content where people want to go or where they're naturally going anyway, as opposed to saying like, you have to go to this one channel where we are housing our content. And you're smart to think about it in long form, short form, written images. I've seen all kinds of stuff. And I think that's really important as you think about your content creation there, because everyone learns differently and they like different formats. Like, I'm very much like, show me a video. If you give me a long document, there's no way I'm going to get through even half of it before I'm like on to the next thing. So I think you're approaching this the right way. How have your customers responded to it? And like, what are you seeing in terms of not only their engagement there, but how are you seeing that transition into how they're using and adopting your software?
I think as far as using the assets go, the I guess more surprising thing. So we have certain KPIs around trainings completed and the reach that we get to our customers. And we had certain targets around that. What we see getting engaged is those micro trainings more and more. So there's really tiny slivers, 30-second, 1-minute blocks. And so we had KPIs around it, but they were sort of second level. So we're raising those now to top level KPIs so that we can really continue to drive those because we're seeing utilization there. How that translates into product utilization is the next piece of the onion that we're slicing. And part of that is the challenge that we have around data accessibility being a largely desktop product. So we're getting into that. We're getting better data, but we're aiming to do exactly that. Like, watch you take a video and then watch you utilize that feature and see if you come back and do it again. Those are data desires that we still have to build out.
So the fact that you've gone from at least on a pricing model or business model from desktop application to SaaS, I know the product is still largely desktop, but does that help give you more visibility into who your users are? Because now you actually have a signed seat. Yeah. Yeah.
We used to have a license key. So I knew you as a key number, right? From a computer, and you'd move that from machine to machine. I had no idea if it was Josh or Kristi touching the actual system. Yeah. So today, regardless of whether you're coming into the desktop application or any cloud service, we know you have to log in. So we know who is logging in. So we get the telemetry that we had never had before. The access to the community is gated, right? So you use your same ID to get into the software. That automatically lets you get into the community if you sign up for that. If you're part of our R&D labs group, same kind of thing. So we can see you across the different lifecycle interaction points in a very different way than we've ever had before.
So it's okay. So it's made all the difference getting those user licenses to sign up.
Yeah, it sets the foundation for us to do all the things that we need to do.
Now you're still slightly
doing that.
Yeah, you're still slightly blind on product usage data. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, how do you offset that?
Andrew talked about one aspect was at the interview side.
Yeah.
And community engagement has been a huge one for us to try to push that. Just pushed out 4 months ago, and we're already seeing very healthy adoption on that front. We ping that community from direct product management interactions. So we're getting feedback and consuming feedback requests, enhancement requests, and our product managers are responding to inquiries inside that portal. They're very active, which has been awesome. It's helped feed that beast, so to say. We also measure, I think Andrew probably alluded, we created a customer delight index this year, which is sort of a multi-pillar mechanism by which we survey, grab data that's accessible, or directly survey certain aspects from multi-dimensions so that we can figure out where do we need to reduce friction for customers. So
can you tell us more?
A lot of things about that.
Yeah, I mean, can you double click into that? Like, what are the dimensions? What's the composition of that delight index?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is built off of 5 primary pillars. So CSAT, traditional CSAT, which is primarily taken from support interactions that are directly surveyed every time a case is closed. We do a lovability score. So our users are very passionate. And so we wanted to find out, like, what is it about the product that is really driving an emotional benefit for you? What is that emotion? Like, is it ease of use? Is it like you really get excited to use the tool? So we survey that directly. We take NPS from 4 different dimensions. So traditional NPS, you might have one dimension that you're taking. We hit it from the NPS score inside the folks that we survey for lovability. We hit it from our professional services and training engagements, and then we hit it from our customer effort scores, so that we get, and then we average those out to sort of penalize ourselves to a degree. If one's really high, the other one might be really low, and it gives us a bit more targeted way to go after NPS. Customer effort is a big one, so we directly survey that as well. And that is 100% aimed at figuring out where our customers encounter friction in any interaction, whether that's purchasing, license distribution, the product itself. And then we do a customer lifetime value to CAC ratio to measure sort of our share of wallet, and then butt that up all against our retention numbers.
Yeah. I'm going to take it, Sean,
really that's a way to understand where word can help. Right?
Yeah. That's your lawnmower, Sean, in the background. Kristi, that's not yours, is it?
It's not mine. I had Charlie barking. I didn't have a lawnmower.
I'm sure that's
that's somebody that actually has warm weather outside.
Sorry.
I mean, it's 65. I guess somebody could be cutting my grass. They're just not. Okay, I got a couple questions here. So as you're going through that, Sean, I think you definitely have a comprehensive mix of a whole bunch of metrics that you're pulling in here. But you also mentioned a bunch of metrics that I think, as we've seen the evolution of customer success, more and more people have said these are not valuable metrics. And so I have a couple questions for you. One on CSAT, because you mentioned that as a primary one. What is the percentage of your customers that are completing that? Because I think that's something that a lot of folks struggle with, is how are we using data where we don't have a scientifically relevant sample size because not enough people are using it for that to feel relevant to drive any, even thematically, like things forward.
Yeah. Well, like I said, CSAT's pointed in a pretty specific container for us. It's in the tech support interactions. I can't remember the exact percentage that we have, but we get fairly decent. It's in the thousands by the time we're measuring this every quarter. So it's a decent sample size. What it does, it is valuable in the respect that it will tell us very clearly if we find any consistent themes. If you're having to contact us for support, why? And are you able to get that answered timely? So we have 4 or 5 questions that are part of that particular survey. And it does give us the ability to sort of very pointedly go after, like, oh, this is interesting. And we've seen that. We've had a couple of technical things that happened. We said, all right, well, this should show up. If we built this index the right way, we should get dinged for this and we should see it. And so we validated that in some of our early assumptions to make sure that we're not just creating some index that we can't act on, but that events that we know should show up, and things that we're like, oh, that's interesting that showed up, we go take a look at.
That makes a ton of sense. Lovability score. You got to dig into that one for me, because that's not one.
Like
that's not.
Project,
I don't think
right?
that's a universally adopted score, but now I'm interested.
It's definitely not a universal one for sure. It is totally aimed at figuring out, like, Bluebeam's a fun one, just to give you, like, if you walk through an airport with a Bluebeam backpack, we often get stopped to say, like, hey, I use Bluebeam. That's amazing. That's awesome.
Okay, so you guys have fans, is what you're saying.
So we have
people that use your product, like, love your product,
who actually like it. And I've been at software companies where that's not the case. So this is a fun part of being at Bluebeam. So what we really wanted to do is tap into that, like, and we don't want to lose it. So I think that's the other thing. When you built that kind of passion across a bunch of users, there's a tendency to become complacent around, like, oh, they'll always be here. And so we want to know, like, why do you love it? Can we improve it? Can we make sure we're continuing to feed, like, if it saves you time and gets you time at home, well, then let's do the things in the product that save you more time and continue to sort of encourage that infinite loop of goodness. And so that's what we're asking. We're basically like, is this product indispensable to your day? And so I think the question specifically is, to what degree is Bluebeam critical to your day? And it's basically indispensable, very important, somewhat important, not important. And the amount of indispensability we get is pretty amazing. The other question is, a lot of times I think Andrew's teams ask this a lot, which is, if we take Bluebeam away, what happens?
Yeah, how does your business impacted?
Mm-hmm. And so, it's not necessarily like, oh my God, I love you, I can't wait to get up and get into Bluebeam every day. Like, that may not be true. But if you have to use 3 software products and you're excited to get into ours because it makes your life easier,
yeah,
that's awesome. And we want to figure out why that is, so that we continue to build products that service that need.
You're at the core. You're at the core. You are a core operating platform for these companies, so you can't take it away. I love that.
Yep.
Love that stickiness factor. How about Andrew? Maybe you can talk a little bit about what going to the SaaS model, what that's meant for upsell and expansion opportunities that maybe you didn't have, or I don't know, maybe you did, but has that changed those opportunities for you?
No, I'm not sure if anything has changed in that regard. I think maybe what it's changed is by moving to a subscription model, it's opened up the door for us to create a customer success management team. Whereas before, so this team kind of evolved from a technical account management team, right? And so we were a group of subject matter product experts that were more reactive in nature and brought in almost like a post-sales engineer, right? To help people understand how they're using it today, how they might be able to use it better. Now that we are building and growing this CS team, it's more of a proactive approach to help them, identify and define what their desired outcomes are and help them figure out a path to achieve those. And in so doing, this is the formula that we all live by, right? Is once we know what you want to accomplish and we help you accomplish that, you'll see that there's value that could be opened up to additional groups that maybe aren't using it yet, or hey, there's things that we just aren't doing that we could do that are, relatively easily accessible. So let's just start doing those things. So I think that's what this has enabled for us, is taking a different posture in how we approach our customers and push them to achieve success. And I'll share a very quick story. Maybe I recall, this is years ago, working with a large client before we were customer success. And, we were having a conversation about how they were using it and what their users were doing with it. And one of the leaders at that organization either asked me or said to me, well, you're the expert. What should we be doing? And to me at that stage in my career, I was like, what? You want to know from me what you should be doing? And I was like, oh yeah, okay. That's exactly what I should be doing. And so that's kind of where this model of customer success has come from, not just for us, but for everybody. It's like, we get it. We talk to you and all of your competitors. We see what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't work. And because we have that experience and that exposure, we're the best people to tell you how to get the most out of this software. So I think for us, that's really been kind of the transformative part of it, by being able to solidify a group that's dedicated to that.
Yeah, sounds it. Last question for you. How are you both thinking about AI within your organization? I don't know if Bluebeam has AI applications itself in the product, but as far as internally within your goals as an org, how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, Sean, you want to go first or me?
Yeah, I can go. I'm happy to go first.
Sure.
So I think we do have some aspects of AI embedded into the product that's continuing to push forward. So that's obviously product side things that are being worked on. I think all products are trying to enable that as best they can. We're trying to be very sensitive to do it inside the workflow that people are already comfortable working in. So it's not creating some fundamentally new area that they go to or fundamentally new workflow. It's basically leveraging AI in existing workflows and trying to maximize that. For me specifically, I'm very much looking at operational efficiency. So how can I get all of these assets we talked about earlier, these snippets and videos and content and knowledge articles and all the things that we've built over the years, how do you then turn that into accessible answers on the fly via an agent, via any kind of interaction that could be plugged into your community, could be plugged into your support portal, could be plugged into the product directly eventually, right? From like, I want help on this, and very simple question and answer. We already have those assets built. So I think it's more like figuring out which technologies to leverage to give us the broadest scope of influence to drive massive efficiency and answers in the moment for customers. Because I think that nothing's more delightful than getting your answer answered correctly, quickly, for people who have very little time.
Yeah, totally. Andrew, anything to add on your end?
Yeah, it was funny. Sean and I were both at our customer advisory board meeting last week, and we had conversations about this. And people were talking about an AI agent that lives inside of the product, and at some point there was probably a little bit of a silence, and then the collective realization of Clippy was just way ahead of his time, right? And so it was, in my mind, I'm just seeing this paperclip with these big eyeballs. But Sean said it very well. I think that, getting people the answers and the support that they need in the moment they need it, where they are, I think that's the key to AI being successful and doing the things for us that we don't need to do. In the product, we have a couple of examples that we're not leading with AI, but we're leading with this helps you get your job done better, faster, easier. And if it's AI that's powering that or machine learning that's powering that, then so be it. So, for example, we came out with a tool recently where we've always had these tools that allow you to compare revisions or overlay different plans, right? So you've got a floor plan, and then you've got your electrical or your lighting plan, and you need to lay them on top of each other to make sure there's no clashes or things that could go wrong. And sometimes you get these plans from different parties, right? The floor plan from the architect, the lighting plan from the electrical contractor or engineer, and they're different sizes, different scales. They don't match up exactly. So we used to have a way where you could manually align those drawings and size them. It took about 2 minutes if you were good at it. So we've now been able to introduce some AI machine learning to where it will automatically read the drawings and size them and lay them on top of each other for you. And it takes now about 15 seconds without any manual touch. So that's just a way that in the product, you're still able to do that job, but you don't have to do the hard part of it or the tedious part that you really don't need to do. So that's a way I think in which in the product we're utilizing that.
Yeah, those lovable moments, as you might say, those little things make a difference.
Or lovable moments, or take away the unlovable moments.
Oh, there you go.
Is another way to say it, right?
Yeah. There you go. Okay, Kristi, any final thoughts on your end? Kristi, your Wi-Fi is going kaputs.
Is it my Wi-Fi or the fact that I was muted because Charlie was acting up? Or a combination of both?
Both.
Could be a little.
Possibly both. I keep rerunning my Wi-Fi. I'll take it up with Verizon. That keeps overcharging.
Okay. Well, we'll leave it on that. We'll leave it on that. Yeah. With our great guests. Thank you guys for a great conversation. Really cool to hear the story and the evolution, like the massive evolution, it sounds like, within Bluebeam's post-sales team. And now we all know the best fast food in the country, Del Taco, and their wonderful, was it crinkle cut fries?
It is. Yeah.
All right.
Get yourself fries, a cheeseburger, and a taco. It's a weird experience, but a good one. according to USA Today.
There you go. On the way. All right, guys. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Kristi.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.